Hello everyone and welcome to another Fallout 76 Weapons Spotlight. Today we're going to look at a Bloodied Bow with 33% VATS hit chance and 25% less VATS AP cost. This weapon should be interesting. It's a hard-hitting but slow weapon, so it should do well against general mobs, but might struggle a bit against bigger, tankier targets that we want to hit a little faster. It's also a bit tricky to use in VATS, but not nearly as unreliable as most people think. I'll go over that as we run with it. Remember, if you like videos like this one or just want to see more Fallout 76 content, go ahead and get subscribed. I post multiple Fallout 76 videos every week on the channel. Alright, let's get into it. As always with these videos, I'll spend some time covering the weapon and its effects, and my build and perk selections before we run through some testing locations. I've added chapter timestamps, so those of you who want to see all of that can, but if you just want to get into the action, you can feel free to jump ahead. Let's take a look at the weapon. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we've got 3 legendary effects, all of which synergize well. Bloodied, so we do more damage at low health, plus 33% VATS hit chance, and 25% less VATS action point cost. Those two work really well together in particular. The extra VATS hit chance is going to make it easier to target weak points to do more damage, and the reduced AP cost is going to help us get more shots in VATS. That's important because slower firing weapons tend to gobble up more AP in VATS than their faster firing counterparts. I've got the Flatwoods Fletcher paint on the bow, which came from the legendary run and I really like. Gives it a nice sleek look, which helps it take up a little less of the screen than some of the other skins that have been released for it. I've also modified it with glow sights, which helps out accuracy a bit, and flaming arrows, which add some burning damage to our targets, but if I'm being brutally honest, I picked that one because I think it looks cool. In my experience, while all of the different mods do have varying effects on damage, their differences are largely inconsequential, so roll with whatever feels fun for you in the moment. And looking briefly at mutations, we've got Adrenal Reaction for more damage at low health, Bird Bones for extra agility and reduced fall speed from the heights we jump at with Marsupial, Carnivore, so our meat meals are more beneficial, Chameleon, which sadly I just don't really think it does anything. Maybe if we were a Berserker's build or something it would be useful, but for stealthy characters you're always crouched, so unless you're standing, Chameleon doesn't do anything for you. Eagle Eyes for more perception, Egghead for more intelligence, which means more XP, Healing Factor. A lot of people don't like Healing Factor. I do. It's a convenience thing. As soon as I'm out of combat, my health regenerates. I kind of dig that. Marsupial for jump height, Scaly Skin for a little extra damage resistance, Speed Demon so we move and reload faster, and lastly is Talons, which really doesn't affect this weapon at all, but I have it on there just because when you're running an unyielding build, you have pretty decent strength, so with this you can use an unarmed weapon as kind of a sidearm, or at least you could before the nerf. You probably can now, but I don't really do it a whole lot. But needless to say, I put it on there because once you have Class Freak on, the negatives of all of these mutations largely cancel each other out. So why not do a little extra damage with something just for fun every now and again? And that's pretty much it for the mutations. Let's look at our legendary perks. First up is Ammo Factory, because I like being able to make tons of ammo. This is my main Xbox character, which is well into the 400 levels, so I use this character as the ammo factory for all of my other characters, because I had enough perk coins to max out most of what I want on this one, and I don't on the others, so it helps balance things out and become a little more useful. Follow through is next. That might be helpful for tankier enemies today that'll require more than one hit to take down. While the bow does deal pretty solid damage, it does it slowly, so there should be plenty of time for this perk to process in between shots. We'll see if it offers any actual benefits. Master Infiltrator is largely here out of convenience, so I don't need to swap cards in for nuke silos or when we have lockpicking or hacking daily challenges. Legendary Endurance for a couple extra endurance points. I use those so I can run Revenant, which gives a big damage boost after being revived. That's not going to be a factor today, as I'll be running totally solo, but it's useful for my usual gameplay. Funky Duds gives us some poison resistance, which is very effective at low health when hunting Scorchbeasts, which we'll do today, and I do very often. Last, we round it all out with 5 points in Legendary Luck, or I should say maxed out Legendary Luck, which gives us an extra 5 points of luck. This lets me take more VATS critical perks that will help generate more criticals for more damage. And last but not least, we'll look at our special build and regular perks. Now, it should be said that I'm not normally an archer, so there might be some things we might tweak if we really wanted to do a full-on bow build, but really what I'm doing here is my VATS Critical Stealth Commando build, but swapping in the archer cards instead. So we'll take a look at how all that works. Under Strength, we've got 2 points for Bandolier because, well, there just isn't really anything else to use, and I usually carry lots of bullets. For Perception, we're maxed out, and here we've got 3 points in Concentrated Fire, helping us hit those limb targets easier. And then, of course, we have Archer, Expert Archer, and Master Archer to max out our bow damage. And we have Bow Before Me, or Bow Before Me, however clever you want to get with it, which is effectively the tank killer for bows. So we get to ignore armor and have a chance to stagger our enemies. Under Endurance, I've got Radical for strength at low health, and Revenant for extra damage if I'm revived. Under Charisma, we've got 2 points in Lone Wanderer for some extra AP refresh and for some extra damage avoidance. Now, you may be thinking, well, you should be on a public team and you get all this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, under normal circumstances I am, but for this purpose, I am truly solo, so no reason not to take Lone Wanderer. We have 2 points in Tenderizer, which will help our targets receive more damage after we attack them. Most things we attack today are probably going to die in one shot, so maybe not the most useful thing for today, but it's what's normally there, so we're going to roll with it. Under Intelligence, we've got 3 in Nerd Rage for more damage at low health, which is still multiplicative, so that's still very effective. And then I have Gunsmith and Scrapper, which I normally run there to help my weapon condition and collect lots of steel for ammo crafting. But the other side of that is I like to run High Intelligence because it generates a lot of XP. So there isn't really anything else that's going to be any more useful for me there, so I might as well run those things. Under Agility, I've got 1 in Action Boy, 3 in Covert Operative, 2 Mr. Sandman, 3 Sneak, 1 Escape Artist, 5 Adrenaline. This is what I run on my Stealth Commando. It's largely just as effective here. The main thing is we're going to get lots of damage when we hit mobs. 1 target after another, that's going to chain together and help us out. 3 in Sneak, a lot of people will tell you, and I don't necessarily disagree, that if you're running Unyielding Armor, 3 points in Sneak is a waste. It may be, but maybe I'm just not as good at sneaking as I thought I was, or maybe something's changed, but since one Wasteland, I feel like these higher level enemies have a much easier time detecting me, and I've found that increasing that sneak card makes that a little more manageable. Maybe I'm just talking myself into that. I don't know. You could alternate that with 3 points in Action Boy very easily. Either way, it really is just a matter of preference. When you're unyielding, your AP is so high that you should be okay either way. And lastly, under Luck, we've got that maxed out thanks to our legendary perk. And we've got Bloody Mess, Grim Reaper Sprint, better criticals, Serendipity to avoid damage at low health, Class Freak and Starch Genes so we can keep our mutations and have their negative effects watered down. So the big thing you see here is I use Bloody Mess because I want to have as much damage as possible. It is true that some of these perks for damage have diminishing returns at high levels, but especially for a weapon like the bow, I just don't really have anything more useful to put in there. So why not take every point of damage we can possibly get? That makes sense to me. Something like Quick Hands doesn't really matter for the bow where you're redrawing every shot anyway. So that's what we're going to roll with. Let's see how it all does. Let's get into the action. We'll start at the Whitespring Golf Club. All right, heading into the golf club, let's see how we do. We'll target some heads. And that seems to be pretty typical for VATS with the bow for me, is when I first load into a location, it has trouble with VATS. But once I get going, we're fine. The key to using the bow effectively in VATS is that you need to completely draw the arrow first. Walk around with it drawn. Remember, this is a stealth weapon, so you're going to be sneaking and moving kind of slowly anyway. And so far, so good with our sneak attacks and everything going consistently over 1,000 damage per headshot. There's not much that's going to stand up to that. So far, this is really, really easy. So there's our key. Again, we draw completely. Make sure you're totally drawn before you release and before you select VATS. That really is the key to this. If you can kind of get that rhythm down, you'll find that all the frustrations people have with the bow and VATS are probably largely overblown, because it just takes a little bit of getting used to. And we'll head downstairs. And the other key I've found that really helps is once you select in VATS, once you highlight VATS, release right away. Don't give the game time to think about it. Just release immediately, and it tends to be extremely effective. We've got a couple more here in the pro shop. We want to make sure we maintain our stealth, and we're in danger. This is the hard part about this weapon. Now, fortunately, even in danger, we're still doing enough damage that we can get out of trouble, but we're not able to fire fast. This is not a highly effective crowd control weapon, so we want to make sure if we do get caught that we get ourselves out of trouble as quickly as possible. With all that clear, we'll move out to the rest of the golf club. 2 sleepers here, no problem. I don't hear a Wendigo. Nope, no Wendigo today. Oh, but we do have a bloated, deadly, glowing one. And our first shot did well, but didn't finish the job. And the second one, we got detected and murdered. All right, let's get back into it. We'll pick up our junk. We don't want to lose out on those tin cans and finish off our glowing one. Easy enough. I think I just got a little sloppy there. And of course, we can see Whitespring doing that weird thing where after you die, everything's weird and bright. We'll head outside and finish off anybody that might be hanging out here. Again, draw the bow completely. VATS and release. Easy peasy. And there, even at range, it works extremely well. And that's one of the things this weapon really has going for it, is it's got a very long distance, highly effective range. And there we go again, one last one. Let's go ahead and head to the deep and see what this thing can do against some commies. All right, here we are. This is probably my favorite location in the game. It just looks so cool. And Liberator's not dying in one shot. That's not good. So we can see here that the armor on the Liberators is very, very effective. Okay, so one shot takes them out. And look at that. Look at that range. Almost 1,000 damage on a headshot from all the way out here. That's how effective this weapon can be, especially with that VATS hit chance. And we've got a random Liberator floating in the air, so we'll take him out. And let's move along down the catwalk. And one more long distance headshot. You know what? Let's see who we can take out from up here. We're still in caution, so we've got our sneak damage. And another Liberator. So their armor is very effective, but it's still not quite enough. We can still take them out in one shot. And here we can really see again the effectiveness of this weapon at long range. Legendary down in one shot. Pretty awesome stuff so far. Head around back and look for that commander and power armor and see if that armor has any effect on the weapon. Plenty of range and down in one shot, so we can see it's definitely reducing the damage. You know, on unarmored targets, we're doing over 1,000 per shot, where with this and the Liberators, it was around 600, but still very, very effective. We already took out our missile sniper from a distance, so let's head inside and see what we've got left waiting for us. We've got a few just hanging out. And again, draw completely. VATS and release. 1794. Very effective. Still continue to be effective at range. Let's head upstairs and see who else there is to clean out. Oh no, we've got one more right there. Okay, now let's head upstairs. And we'll get a commander in power armor. One shot again, a little closer, so the damage was a little higher, and we had some adrenaline. Two more here. Come on out. There's no need to hide. You're gonna die. Excellent. Very good. And it looks like there's one more hiding here somewhere. Let's see if we can track him down. Yep, just as I was about to give up, he comes running through the front door. Doesn't even see me. Dead in one shot. Bloody mess doing its thing. Very cool. Let's jump to the Behemoth at Solomon's Pond. And I just wanted to look around there, see if there was anything hanging around to aggro the Behemoth and mess with our sneak attacks. Looks like we're good to go. Let's get into a little bit better position for a good front-facing headshot. There we go. Nice big chunk of damage. Certainly not enough to take him out completely. And VATS didn't count. Bigger chunk of damage. That's follow-through working for us. So effectively, we took him down in 3 arrows. That's not shameful. Now, prior to the nerf, he was a one-shot kill with this weapon. But even still, not bad. I can live with that. It makes sense that it would take more than 1 arrow to kill a super mutant behemoth. So far, I'm pretty pleased with the performance. One-shotting everything in general farming, and your tankier enemies have been tougher but manageable. Let's go to a Fissure site and see how that works out. And loading in, we've got some Scorched. VATS decided not to count its damage. There we go. So again, when you first load into a site, things can be a little bit weird with the bow. But once you get going, you're fine. Fully draw, VATS and release. That's the key. Even at long distance, we're one-shotting all of these guys. They're all level 50 because I had to load in fresh, and I loaded in right here, but that's okay. I'm fairly confident that even if they were level 100s, we'd be handling them just fine. They're low armor targets, just like ghouls in the commies. We've got a legendary Scorchbeast. Let's see how this works out. And even at a long distance, we hit him. Did a little chunk of damage. Another bigger chunk with follow-through. So follow-through is really helping with this weapon. And this is where you have to really be careful, especially if you're using it in VATS, because you want to shoot fast. You kind of let things get out of control for yourself a little bit. You miss your rhythm and sometimes miss. And then, of course, sometimes the stupid bat flies out of range. Very good so far. Okay, I can live with this. I expect this to be a bit of a fight, but nothing we can't manage so far. Nice big chunks. Should be 1 or 2 more shots. There he goes. all the way down, flying up the hill, as Scorchbeasts tend to do. An anti-armor light machine gun, that'll be fun to play with on the heavy gunner I'm working on. Should be a good time. Do we have anybody left here? Yeah, there's still one left. And yeah, rhythm was a little off there. Rhythm was still a little off. I'm vatsing before I'm fully drawn. Let's get fully drawn, and there we go. And that is something that they do improve on a little bit in the PTS. I did play with this and test it a little, but by and large, it still works the same way. You're still best off fully drawing, then vatsing and releasing. It's more forgiving on you with the VATS changes they've made in the PTS, but by and large, it still works the same way. And here we are in Huntersville, the last stop on our whistle stop tour of death. We've got some floaters going down in one shot. No problem so far. This weapon has performed pretty much how I would expect it to. Honestly, maybe a little better than I expected it to against some of these bigger enemies. Let's see if some of the tankier super mutants give us trouble. We've got one up by the water tower, but don't have a clean headshot. Creep up here. Oh, good. We've got a dog and a skirmisher. And again, a little bit off rhythm with the VATS. Very good. That solves that. Fully drawn. And you can kind of tell your arrow tip wiggles a little bit when you're fully drawn. So if you're having trouble getting that rhythm down, look for that. It's very subtle, but you can see it. And we'll just marsupial our way up to you. Need to fight, huh? Well, you're not going to get a chance today. All right, let's head into town and finish these guys off. On second thought, we don't even need to head into town. We have a bow with long range. We can finish them off from here. And we penetrated the tank a little bit there. That's all right. I can live with that. Who else is waiting for me? And this is the big advantage to the bow, is you can really maintain some range, which really, of course, benefits your stealth. You don't get detected. You don't have mobs just flying at you. And we took down a level 100 in one shot. This weapon is highly effective, at least for general farming. For bosses, we saw it. Even just your general tanky enemies are a little tougher, but certainly manageable. And a legendary. There we go. One shot on the legendary. Beautiful. And a dog. Yeah, we kind of expected to miss you. No problem there now. And there's one more came running around, I think. Pick up our arrow and a weightless arm. Let's head upstairs. Yeah, a little bit of a slip up there on my part. And again, not getting my rhythm right. It really all comes down to that. You get that rhythm right, and you're not going to miss these guys. But you gotta have patience, and you gotta do it. And I'm not doing that right now. I'm being very impatient and stupid. Okay, let's just hit you so you turn around. Thank you very much. I'm sneaky enough that you had no idea I was right behind you. And you really do need them to be facing you to get the best hit chance on a head. Let's head down to the end of the road and wrap up this tour. And down by the tank, we've got a boy and his dog. Pretty standard practice for Huntersville. And pretty standard practice for VATS to just not process damage. That is improved on the PTS now. It's not perfect, but it is improved. And we've cleared out Huntersville. Let's talk conclusions on this weapon. Overall, the Bloodied Bow performed pretty much how I expected it to. Maybe even a little bit better. Outside of a few really tanky enemies, we took out everything in one headshot. Not only that, but it did excessive damage on those headshots, typically well over 1,000 per shot. What that means is that while the bloodied effect is giving us a lot of help, someone running a bow with a less powerful legendary effect like anti-armor, junkies, or even mutants should still be able to kill most things in one shot as well. The key is really how you use the weapon. It's all about stealth and targeting weak points, which is where the extra VATS hit chance really helps. Being able to target those weak spots from a long distance also really helps. If we're targeting torsos instead of heads, we probably wouldn't have seen so many one-shot kills, and that's definitely the goal with a weapon like this one. Seeing the performance against tanky enemies, I don't expect this to be a great weapon against bosses, at least not for solo players. It does enough damage that if you jump into a colossal problem or a Scorchbeast Queen fight, you'll be able to contribute, get XP and loot. It's not useless by any means, but probably not fast enough to solo those fights, at least not very easily. But for general farming, it's quite efficient, especially when you consider that you can usually pick your arrows back up from the enemies you kill. So if you're looking for a stealthy, lightweight, very efficient weapon for general farming, this is definitely a solid choice. You just probably need to practice with it in VATS for a bit before you get the rhythm down. And once you do, I think it's a lot of fun. It takes a little more skill to use this in VATS than the average weapon, but it's also extremely satisfying, which is why I like using it so much. And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. As always, if you enjoyed this, found it informative, or anything in between, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, or leave a comment. Till next time, I'm Fisty McRib.